Now that we have addressed these issues on hand, having a fulfilling LDR is possible so long as we actively and intentionally look for ways to improve things. Love is like exercising. You don't just wish things to naturally progress or grow. Love needs effort from your part too. So let's now look at the solutions to these issues. So remember, change is painful, but by learning and giving space to it, it can make you grow. One of the ways to improve and maintain LDRs is actually a lot of hellos. You can make time for your partner and use whatever things you have on hand, such as video chat, social media, communication apps, transportation, letters, deliveries. Right now we have a lot of Grab, a lot of Food Panda stuff, anything that you have the means to. You can choose to greet morning or night. You can do once a week calls or even every day, whichever works for you, as each couple, they have different things going on. The most important thing to keep in mind is that consistency is key. So another thing, if you want to improve your relationship, is that you can actually use Gottman's sound relationship house. So what it means with this theory is that there are two psychologists who came up with this theory. Their suggestion is that for any relationship to thrive, they're usually built on the foundations of friendships, and there are 7 levels to these. So the first one is building love maps, right? The first is to get to know your partner. Even if you've known each other just a while or many years, even after marriage, every day can be a new thing because things are going on. People change, people grow. So it would be nice and good to keep track on things, check in with one another, how's their day, how's their week, what new things they have discovered and like, etc., etc. And after, getting to know one another, whether it be new or old, then you can share some fondness and admiration for one another, giving them compliments, showing a positive outlook, wanting to be curious about what they're going through. And that kind of behavior can then build to turning towards them, right? This sort of build-up of curiosity and admiration approach can then encourage them, people to pay attention to the partner, really giving them the space and listen to what they have to say, intentionally making space to spend time with them. And then after that, with these build up, then you have a more positive outlook, a positive perspective to your partner, right? And these building blocks can really help in order to manage, right? You don't just straight up going into managing conflict without certain tools. You need the foundations, you need the right headspace, the right time in order to be able to communicate effectively. And once you're able to manage these conflicts, underlying these conflicts, there are actually needs. There are actually dreams that your partner has. They don't just blindly want to attack you. They might actually have something going on, right? And so once you're able to communicate, then you guys can then work together on making any of your dreams, any of your needs to be met. And then by helping each other accomplish things, by supporting one another, by supporting each other's dreams and all, that way you guys can actually help to create shared meaning with one another. So that's the gist of Gottman's sound relationship house. I personally find this theory really helpful because that it gives a better map. Because a lot of people think that romantic relationships are just, romance and everything. But in actual fact, you do need the building blocks of a solid friendship in order to build up from there. And finally, another thing to really improve things is also to eventually closing that physical gap in long distance relationships. So really, if you can, if you have the means, try to visit one another, or at least have more face-to-face calls when you can, when things aren't right. Since we're in the middle of the pandemic, things might not be working favorably, right? Things are still a little unsafe. I hope everyone's boosted and vaccinated, but ultimately, right, once you have the means, um, do find ways to visit each other, or eventually, moving in and everything. But not as soon as possible, because there are research showing that um, moving in like suddenly can lead to sudden conflicts and difficulty adjusting to one another, because long distance and sudden proximal relationships might need time to getting used to. So maybe have like weekly or monthly visits, right? Have like slow, gradual um, visits. Then after that, once you get to know one another, once you're accustomed to each other's behaviors, patterns, all that stuff, then, once you feel like things are right, and, if you want to then move in, you know, by all means, or if you want to get married, that's in the way. Just know that, slow, steady, and consistency all are key. All right, so that's the end of the presentation. We hope that our sharings, as well as the solutions listed, are of benefit to y'all. And if not new, at least some reminders, right? So that you know on how to maintain, how to take care, or how to improve your long distance relationships, or even proximal relationships. These are the references. All right, so these are more references. There are like 2 pages full of this, but we hope that when you have the time, you can have a look and see what all these research has got to say. Thank you so much for viewing our content. Skybi is a online mental health service platform. So, after this, if you feel like you need a counseling session, if you need couples therapy, or if you'd like to learn more about how to maintain relationships, feel free to check out our social media, our websites, and everything, and book an appointment with us. Thank you.